What if I told you that Nigeria, Africa's most populous country with over 220 million people, got its name from a British journalist's wife who was sitting in a bathtub? And that before this random naming incident, this land was home to civilizations so advanced they were creating lifelike bronze sculptures while Europe was stuck in the Dark Ages. The true story of how Nigeria got its name and the incredible history that was almost erased will blow your mind. Let's start with the most astonishing part of this story. Nigeria, home to the mighty Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa empires, ancient kingdoms that traded with Egypt and controlled vast trade routes, got its modern name from Flora Shaw, a British journalist, while she was literally taking a bath in London in 1897. Flora Shaw was sitting in her bathtub, thinking about how to describe this massive West African territory in her newspaper articles, when she combined Niger, the river that flows through the region, with the suffix ia, meaning land of. She basically created the name Nigeria the same way you might name your pet goldfish. This woman had never even set foot in West Africa, yet her bathtub brainstorm became the name of Africa's giant. But here's what's absolutely mind-blowing. Before Flora Shaw's bath time naming session, this land had dozens of powerful names that reflected thousands of years of incredible civilizations. Long before any European ever dreamed of Africa, this region was known by names that commanded respect across 3 continents. The Kanem-Bornu Empire, which lasted over 1,000 years, controlled territory larger than modern-day Nigeria, Chad, Niger, and parts of Libya combined. When medieval Europeans were still figuring out basic hygiene, Kanem-Bornu had established diplomatic relations with North Africa, the Ottoman Empire, and even sent ambassadors to Europe. The Yoruba kingdoms called their land Ile-Ife, meaning the sacred place where humanity was created according to their cosmology. Ife wasn't just a city, it was considered the spiritual center of the world, the place where the gods descended to earth. Archaeological evidence shows that Ife was producing bronze and terracotta sculptures so sophisticated that when Europeans first saw them in the early 1900s, they refused to believe Africans had made them. The Benin Empire, Africa's technological superpower. Now, let me tell you about one of the most incredible civilizations that existed in what we now call Nigeria, the Benin Empire. When Portuguese explorers first arrived in Benin City in the 1480s, they were absolutely stunned. The city was larger, cleaner, and more organized than Lisbon, the Portuguese capital. Benin City had wide, straight boulevards that were swept clean every morning, a sophisticated drainage system, and walls that were longer and taller than the Great Wall of China. The Portuguese captain who first saw it wrote that the city was great, wonderful, and more extensive than many European cities. But here's the crazy part. The Benin Empire had mastered bronze casting technology that was so advanced they could create sculptures that captured individual facial expressions, detailed clothing patterns, and even showed the texture of different fabrics. The famous Benin bronzes were so incredibly detailed that European art experts initially claimed they must have been made by Europeans or Arabs because surely Africans couldn't create such masterpieces. The Benin Empire was so powerful that when the Portuguese arrived looking to trade, the Oba, king of Benin, treated them like minor regional merchants. Benin was already trading with kingdoms across Africa and had established trade networks that reached all the way to India and the Middle East. The Nok civilization, Africa's ancient mystery. But wait, it gets even more incredible. Before all these empires, there was the Nok civilization, which existed from around 1500 BC to 300 AD. The Nok people were creating lifelike terracotta sculptures over 2,000 years ago that are so sophisticated, archaeologists still can't figure out how they made them without modern tools. These weren't primitive cave paintings or simple pottery. The Nok sculptures show incredible artistic mastery with detailed facial features, elaborate hairstyles, and complex jewelry that indicates a highly sophisticated society. Some Nok sculptures are over 4 feet tall and show such anatomical precision that they rival classical Greek and Roman art. Here's what's really mind-blowing. The Nok people were smelting iron and creating advanced metallurgy while most of Europe was still in the Bronze Age. They had figured out how to extract and work iron ore using techniques that wouldn't be discovered in Europe for another 500 years. The Sokoto Caliphate, the Harvard of Africa. Moving forward in history, by the early 1800s, the Sokoto Caliphate had become one of the largest empires in Africa, covering most of northern Nigeria and parts of neighboring countries. But this wasn't just a military empire. Sokoto was an intellectual powerhouse. The capital city of Sokoto had more books and manuscripts than many European cities of the time. The Caliphate had established thousands of schools and universities where students came from across Africa and the Middle East to study mathematics, astronomy, medicine, law, and philosophy. The University of Sankore in Timbuktu might be more famous, but Sokoto's educational system was equally impressive and produced scholars whose works influenced Islamic thinking across Africa. The Sokoto Caliphate had a sophisticated legal system, advanced agricultural techniques, and trade networks that connected the Sahara Desert to the Atlantic coast. When British explorers first encountered Sokoto in the 1800s, they found cities with hospitals, libraries, and courts of law. The Igbo Ukwu archaeological marvel. Here's a fact that will blow your mind. In the 9th and 10th centuries AD, in what is now southeastern Nigeria, the Igbo Ukwu civilization was creating bronze artifacts so advanced and beautiful that when archaeologists discovered them in 1938, the international academic community initially refused to believe they were that old. The Igbo Ukwu bronzes include incredibly detailed bowls, ceremonial vessels, and jewelry that show a level of artistic and technical sophistication that rivals anything produced in medieval Europe or Asia at the same time. These artifacts prove that advanced metallurgy, international trade, and sophisticated artistic traditions existed in Nigeria over 1,000 years ago. The most incredible part? The Igbo Ukwu people were using a lost wax bronze casting technique that was so advanced, modern metallurgists are still studying how they achieved such precision without modern tools. So, the next time someone asks about Nigeria's name, tell them the truth. The name might be colonial, but the greatness is purely, authentically African, stretching back over 3,000 years of unbroken achievement. If you found this video insightful, then please subscribe for more untold stories from Africa's amazing history.